Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today it's Sunday, and my name is 𝗚𝗏𝗂 𝗏𝗏𝗀, and this is Tish Talks Tech. And today, welcome. We have with us CEO of Interskill, lifetime IBM champion, Darren Search. Welcome. How are you doing, Darren?
Thanks, 𝗚𝗏𝗂. Yeah, great. Love spending a Sunday afternoon with you, having a bit of a chat. This is fantastic. Appreciate the invite.
I am so happy that you're here. Really happy. It is a long time coming, and we have been planning for a while. This is really awesome. We've known each other for a while, for quite a while. I met you back on Twitter, long time ago.
Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I think.
Pardon?
5 or 6 years, maybe even more than that.
Maybe. That's so that's so funny. Now that I think about it, I'm just like, wow, it's been a long time. The journey, and I met you through Master the Mainframe on my learning journey, trying to level up, as they say, as we all say, trying to get the skills needed so that I could be able to get through Master the Mainframe. And it felt like forever, but man, was I so happy that I was able to do it. Let me just be really real to everybody. As you know, I talk to the audience, I talk to you. Audience, I'm just kind of fangirling. So stay on the bus because I'm driving, and right now it's an unlicensed driver right now. So we're just, but this is just, I'm just so happy to finally have this conversation with you, Darren, because your story is such an awesome story. We only have an hour. There's only 59 minutes to this. I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time. I want to get to it. Can you please let the audience know, how did you get started in mainframe? Because your story is so epic, and it starts from a land so far away.
Exactly, the land down under. Yeah, thanks, 𝗚𝗏𝗂. And we've just been, 𝗚𝗏𝗂 and I logged into this call a little early, and we've just been chattering away like old mates for ages. So as 𝗚𝗏𝗂 said, I'm from Australia. I grew up in the bush. Nearest town to our farm was population 11. So we were way out there on a farm. And I started my career, got my qualifications, and started my career as a hydrographer, a water resources scientist in Australia, because Australia is such a desert continent, has to manage its water resources. And that's what I thought I was going to do. But I headed off by chance over to England and on a trip, and got the travel bug. And so traveled around for quite a while and bumped into, funnily enough, at 𝗚𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗃 in Munich, in the late 80s, bumped into a bunch of mainframe programmers at the 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗃, and they just loved life. They were programming 𝗘𝗏𝗏 and PL1 and thought this was the best thing. And remember, this is in the 80s, so computing's not everywhere like it is today. But they absolutely won me over. They convinced me that this mainframe computing thing, what an amazing industry, and what a career for the future. So as soon as I got back to Australia, after a few years sort of traveling around, I went straight away to a college and learnt 𝗘𝗏𝗏 and PL1 and became a mainframe programmer. And that's it. I ended up getting into the education side of things. As 𝗚𝗏𝗂 said, I'm with Interskill Learning now, the biggest mainframe training provider in the world. But that was how I got into mainframe, by chance, and a couple of beers and and a bunch of crazy mainframers at the 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗃 in Munich. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have got into the mainframe industry traditionally through college and realized that it's a great career. But I know just from talking to people, there's a lot of people like your story, if you would go into that as well in a moment. like your story, and returned military people getting into careers, mums that have got kids off to school and decide they want a career and get back into mainframe. There's really an amazing diversity of people and backstories in this mainframe community.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about yours. Tell us about yours, your backstory, and how you got into mainframe computing. I always thought that's fascinating too.
See, that is really funny. That is so funny. So I was a hairdresser. Still hold my license. Still keep them up. And I was working and working and working. I did hair for a very long time, and decided one day, I said, you know what? I was talking to a friend. I said, and he codes, but he's in cybersecurity. It's hilarious. And I didn't know. I was just like, hey, how do you make color pop up in code? I want to do an app, and I want hair color I want to be able to show my customers hair color. And he was like, okay, I don't do that, but this is what you would have to do to make hair color to show up in an app. So he kind of showed me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, and then he said, go to YouTube and see what you would have to do. And for weeks, I looked that up. And then all of a sudden I said, no, this is not for me. And then I said, well, wait a minute. Then there was other stuff. And then I stumbled on other stuff. And then I went down this rabbit hole and stumbled on other stuff. And then I was talking to my mom, and she was like, oh yeah, well, that's COBOL. I do that at work. Now, she hadn't retired yet, and I was just like, I don't want to do that. Cause I remember going into like the computer lab with her when I was a little kid. I was only like 10, with my strawberry shortcake blanket on and sitting there for hours. And I can just remember that. Long story short, stumbled upon Master the Mainframe after a salon closed down that I was working at, and had to retrain, and reached out on Twitter, found people like yourself that was able to direct me in the right way. And boom, here I am today. And how many
intellectually curious people find their way here and are always very successful, because they're always wanting to learn more and find out more and find out what makes this thing work and that thing work and so forth. So no wonder you're doing so well. Fantastic story.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny how all roads lead to mainframe. It really, really is. And everybody kind of, oh, that's a legacy. That was something that we did 50 years ago, or whatever the case may be. But no, really, this is where it's at. If you really want to come make a difference, flex your plex, make some money, really do some good, you want to come over to mainframe. And that's why I try to tell folks. And, that's why I do what I do here on Sunday afternoon. Darren. Oh, Darren. So tell me about like the whole thing. You have like this whole, what am I trying to say? So with Interskill, people could on demand, get online, level up, figure out, okay, I need to learn how to write a Rex script. I need to figure out what Rex is, or I need to figure out TSO. What is TSO? Or, oh, I got to figure this out. I know for me, that's what I do. So if they tell me, hey, you need to learn this, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I go learn it. And then I talk to a mentor, and then I practice it, and then I learn it again. How did that even pop into your mind that was a need?
Well, there was a I suppose even a step back. The mainframe industry since the 60s, if people needed training, they went to IBM, and it was classroom training. And that was traditionally the way that people did courses. They'd do a couple of courses a year when they were new and hired. They did boot camp training and trained up. And a lot of it was apprenticeship style. You know, people would get into a mainframe organization and learn as they went, like apprentices. Great industry. I mean, through the 60s and 70s, the biggest companies in the world were using mainframes and hiring people, enormous numbers of people. But there's a gentleman by the name of Ray Menzies, who I knew in Melbourne. He was the head of the training college where I had learned how to program COBOL and be a mainframe programmer. Ray Menzies was an absolute visionary, and he got interested in this brand new thing. This is in 1990, 89, 90, brand new thing called computer-based training. And this is when, you know, PCs weren't even really networked. You know, people had a couple of IBM PS2 PCs or something sitting on desks somewhere in a training room. Excuse me. And anyway, computer-based training was, you know, slide after slide of information and some pretty clunky CGI graphics and various other things. I mean, this was early days of distributed computing. And Ray decided that could be useful for people to not have to go to a class, but if they needed training instantly, they could do some of this stuff. And I was fascinated from the start, and I was one of the original team. That Deborah Scott, who heads up our development team in Australia now, still to this day, she's making the world's best mainframe training. And we started off with, an MVS course, MVS, JCL, ISPF, JES2, and COBOL, kicks maybe. That was about it, just a small number. This was before the internet, really. So we would go to a company that wanted to use this training, and I'd have a briefcase full of an enormous stack of floppy disks, and I'd have to load one floppy disk after the next, 25, 30 of them into this.
Are you kidding me?
This was before the internet. So people would come into a training room, sit at a computer and do some training. But and the industry went on. But once the internet happened, these were the two big things. The internet was just a game changer because people realized, okay, we can have training in a central position and scale it. So anyone, anywhere, anytime can access this training. And so that's when all big corporates started getting, all big corporates have a learning management system with Windows, Microsoft Office training and soft skills and conflict resolution and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, compliance training and so forth. It's just a normal thing in organizations. So we've spent 30 years really building up this massive array of mainframe training because mainframe's all we do. Like we talked about, we're part of the mainframe community and mainframe training is all we do. That was the first big thing, and I'm sorry if I'm getting out into the weeds here. The second big thing was that really made this jump was IBM's digital badge program. And IBM were really early adopters of digital credentialing. Jim Daniels was one of the heads of that with IBM and David Lisa. And the IBM badge program's just made it's driven training. People get excited, have a look on LinkedIn, people earn these credentials. They show this objective truth that they've done this training and learned what they need to learn up to an accepted standard, an endorsed standard from IBM, and then build on that. So once the IBM digital badges started getting out there, people that normally, human nature, you'd say, oh, I need to do some training this year, and it'd get to December 31st, and you'd say, oh, I didn't do much training this year, but next year I'm definitely going to do some training. You know what I mean? Work gets in the way. But badging has really driven training. People are doing 20, 30, 40, 50 hours of training a year, just doing bits and pieces. And some of that is classroom, of course. Some people go off to share, conferences, mentoring, coaching, all different ways of doing mainframe training are equally important. But the e-learning's taken on a real sort of core of the mainframe workforce training program because it's, like you said, on demand, instantly available, and a sort of a massive array of topics. It's easy to fit in between your work as you go. And that's sort of where it's fitted in. So these days, a mainframe corporation and or young people wanting to get into the mainframe space, they'll do some things like Master the Mainframe or 𝗬𝗡𝗡𝗡 that IBM puts on for free, which is fantastic. Google it, look it up, get you start there. Training like Interskill's got. There's conferences, there's IBM Z Day. IBM does a bunch of virtual mainframe days with sessions and so forth. Share has got some stuff. That's the mainframe user group. So there's training everywhere. And forgive me for focusing on training. That's what I do. But there's so much stuff out there for, you know, minimum outlay. And the other thing, I suppose, is the community that Letitia and I were talking about. You know, get connected on social media. Just become part of the community, connect with people, and let them know you're interested in mainframe. This community is just stunning. There's so many people out there that are saying, hey, come on, I'll take you under my wing. I'll tell you what you need to learn. I'll introduce you to the right people. Here's some companies that need some people very soon. You know, let's get them introduced to you. Suddenly, you know, you don't have to go out there and hunt for a job. The jobs will come and find you. So getting connected to, there we go, IBM Z Day. Thank you, 𝗟𝗲. October 18, it's fantastic. Really, a whole day free from IBM of everything you want to know about the mainframe.
Right.
So there's lots and lots and lots of stuff out there.
Absolutely.
I will zip my lip because I'm talking too much here.
No. It's your world. It's your world. That's why I invited you. Let me ask you this. When you're new to Z, okay, and you were talking about the community. So there's like the new to Z community. Yes. that I belong to, and a lot of folks belong to. What do you think? What's the best advice you can give someone that is new to Z when they get on the job and your employer says, oh yeah, and we have Interskill, and we have this community for you? What's your best advice for them? Because a lot of folks don't understand this part, or they don't get it. I don't know.
Lifelong learning is part of today's career. You know, back in the day, you could learn something. If you want to Google it, there's a term called the half-life of skills, and it sort of mimics the radioactive half-life of something. The half-life of an element is when it goes from a certain radioactive emission to half of that level. So they measure that in time. That's the decay. So anyway, I'm off into the weeds here. But with your mainframe skills, or with your any skills, when you first learn that skill, you're getting maximum output out of it because it's current, it's new, it's a really relevant skill. But as the months or years go by, suddenly that skill, you know, so Microsoft Excel or you know, anything distributed, anything mainframe, whatever, the technology changes. There's new versions of the technology. There's new technologies that come in. If you learned WordPerfect, if you were sitting on a typewriter years ago, you know, typewriters got taken over by WordPerfect. Was an original word processing software that everyone used WordPerfect, and then Microsoft brought out Word, and everyone jumped over to Word, and poor WordPerfect's like, hey, hang on, where did everybody go? You know, tumbleweeds rolling in the office there. So your skills, the half-life of your skills, that used to be years. When you learn something, you could continue to do things with the same sort of output for years and years and years without having to learn anything more. The half-life of skills has really shrunk. You know, we're talking 6 months to a year to 18 months now for a lot of technical stuff. So if you're sitting there and you've learned a skill and you're just continuing to do things the same way, it's not too long before you're not getting maximum output out of it. You're not doing your job as well as you can. You're having to work harder just to get your work done. So you've got to keep, IBM's got this remarkable thing called Think 40. Where IBM says that all IBM employees have to do at least 40 hours of documented professional development every year. And a lot of studies point to that 40-hour level as being optimal, in that it keeps your skills up, but it's not eating into your work too much, work time too much. So try and do, I'm getting long-winded, but try and do 20, 30, 40 hours a year of something. Does not have to be set classes. Classes are important, but 40 hours of classroom in a year is really hard to fit in between your work. So you'll do a class, you'll maybe go to a conference, you'll do some e-learning courses like the Interskill stuff and some others. But even every morning I get on my iPhone when I've got my cup of coffee in the morning, and I start scrolling down LinkedIn, and I'm following all the right people, and I can read articles about this and that, and IBM's got a new announcement. z/OS 3.1's coming out in August. Oh my goodness, wonder what that's going to change. Read what some of the industry experts are saying about that. Read a little bit of technical release information and so forth. That's training. You know, it's stuff you're interested in, so it doesn't feel painful like training can sometimes feel, but just keep up with it. And like you said before, become part of the community, whether it's IBM communities or on LinkedIn. Just follow people, get to know people in the industry, and read what they write. People post stuff on LinkedIn and other social media. Read what they write. This is all training. Connect with them. Say, hey, this was really interesting. Can you tell me something more? 99.9% of the time, you know, people in the mainframe community will say, yep, let me connect you with this. Let me give you something else to read. Let me tell you a bit more. Did you have any questions? It's an amazing community, because we all love this system so much, and we understand the sheer impact it has on the way the world functions. And we love talking about it. So
Absolutely.
that translates to training as well.
Absolutely. And then can you tell us more about how has digital badges changed the landscape versus how has digital badging changed the landscape, period, as far as training is concerned? Because there's some folks out here that are doing some amazing things that don't have degrees.
Skills-based hiring, yeah, it's becoming more and more important. I mean, that's a terrific question. And digital credentialing is across, you know, training obviously there's an enormous synergy with training, but IBM awards credentials for speaking at conferences, for earning patents, for finishing projects, for, you know, doing charity work, for all sorts of different things. You can earn digital credentials for a myriad things. Digital credentialing is going to be standard pretty soon in K through 12. I mean, we're living in I always think of the Madonna song when I say this, but we're living in a digital world, not a material world. Shows how old I am. But, you know, people are going to get driver's licenses by digital credential. They're going to have, IRS is going to use it, government's going to use it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Digital credentials have metadata behind them, which makes them an objective digital form of truth. So there's no you can't counterfeit these things. And as you click on, I mean, we've all clicked on somebody else's badge or our own badge on LinkedIn, you can start to dig down and see, okay, someone's earned a JCL badge. That's good, but what is it? Okay, click in. Oh, here's everything that they learned. When did they learn it? Who delivered the training? What version of JCL is it? And version of z/OS, and so on and so on and so forth. So there's all of that granular detail behind the badge, as well as that objective truth to it, that shows that stuff off and benchmarks the skill. I suppose I was mumbling along there, but benchmarks the skill to the industry. So again, before digital credentialing, people could do a JCL course, to keep with that same example, and everybody around the industry would say, okay, they've done a JCL course, but did they learn this much, or did they learn this much, or did they learn this much? Was the company that delivered that training not a very good company and didn't really deliver good training, or were they the cream of the crop, best training company out there that delivered really, really good training, et cetera, et cetera? When did they, you know, was it a 5-day JCL course? Was it a 1-day JCL course? Was it an e-learning course? Was it whatever? For IBM specifically, but Broadcom offers badges. The Linux Foundation Open Mainframe Project's got badges, and it will increase. If it's endorsed by these organizations, then it shows that it's something important, and it's an accepted level of skills that you've done training to achieve, not just some random thing that you've done some training, but no one really knows how much. I'm getting way out there, but it helps organizations globally to see that benchmark of training and that benchmark of skills. And for people getting into the industry or people in the industry, it lets you be seen that you have that level of skills, you know. So you're not just saying, hey, I know everything about COBOL and Kix and PL1 and z/OS and so on and so forth. Okay, how do we know? But if you've got this array of badges from different mainframe vendors, you've done the training and you've learned up to these skills, then all of a sudden, here it is. It's proven right in front of you that you know this stuff. It also shows that you're intellectually curious. It also shows that you're working to further your skill levels and improve your career. And, you know, that they feed on each other. People do badges. Companies say, okay, work for me, or, hey, there's a promotion coming up. You've got all the skills you need. Let's give you the promotion, or let's give you this new project that's just coming up because it looks like you've got all the skills you need. So this is, I'm rambling, but it's just fascinating stuff. It ties into the training world so well. But digital credentialing in itself, 10 years on, hopefully someone's watching this conversation between you and I and goes, yeah, they were talking about digital credentialing even way back in 2023. Look how much it's changed the world. So, and I mean, just on a number level, Interskill used to think we were, you know, the world's gift to mainframe training. Before badges, we did about 250,000 hours of mainframe training annually, globally, 260,000 hours of mainframe training, which was huge. IBM brought in the badge program 7 years ago. We wrapped our training around that so that people could earn badges from IBM for completing this training. Last year, we did 960,000 hours of mainframe training globally. So the badges, you know, our training's improved as well. And we've got new courses and so forth, but that's not what it is. The badges have quadrupled the amount of training done annually because people say, you know what, and I am rambling, but there's a great conversation I had at a share conference a number of years ago. A friend of mine who was a systems computer operations manager for one of our clients came in and visited our booth at the share conference and said, hey, Darren, I've earned 3 badges this last year on this one, this one, and this one. And I'm talking to him and I'm doing a bit of mental arithmetic. And I said, okay, that's like 35 hours of training you had to do to earn those 3 badges. That's really impressive. Well done. I said, on a personal note, would you have done that much training if it wasn't for the badges? And he laughed. He said, I wouldn't have done any training if it wasn't for the badges. He said, the reason I did that 35 hours of training is because I wanted to earn those badges. And if you extrapolate that out across the industry, that's happening in thousands of other little stories where people are saying, you know what, I really want to earn that badge. And so you do 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 hours of training that you probably might not have done otherwise. And that's collectively lifting the skill level of the whole industry. It means people are doing their jobs better, they're doing it more efficiently, the products are being used better, which is great for, you know, the IBMs and Broadcoms and Rockets and BMCs of the world. They want their amazing products to be used optimally, not used badly.
Right.
So it helps the whole industry just by motivating this volume of training, quality training, to be done. So again, I'm out into the weeds. My apologies, but it's really made a big impact, made a big difference to the industry, from corporate, from individual careers, from the whole industry. No,
you are not in the weeds. You're right on target. You're right on target. I want to read some of this chat because I have I have something to say too. Let's see here. So Sherry, let's see, certifications and badges, or as I call in the adult version of a sticker book. Yeah, you know what? Hey, why not?
They're Pokemon Go for IT people. I think you've got to get them all.
Why not? Why not? And PJ told us here, is there a badge for knowing everything? Because that's the one that he needs next. Absolutely, yes. I'm sure that there is.
We'll have your face on it, PJ.
Yeah. Yeah, 100,000. Yeah, that's kind of unreal. Yeah, Sherry, and we got to catch them all. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that the digital credentials are so good, especially for a person like myself, because you get a lot of times what you don't see is you'll have people like myself, and you'll have those that see from the outside and they'll say, oh, well, you must have done that overnight. You know, you came out and this is overnight. How did you learn all of that? And it's like, no, from 2016, and here we are in 2023. This is not overnight. And, you know, and we are still, and I say we are still in our infancy of learning. And so to have a digital badge, right? It comes through as a protection for a person like myself as well, because now you can actually say, yes, I do have that badge. No, I don't know everything, and this is how much I know. This is where I'm comfortable right now, right? And so if you, here we are, audience, here we are, new to Z. If you haven't gone out and you're at work and you haven't utilized your Interskill account, okay, you haven't utilized your account for IBM, you haven't utilized your BMC account, you haven't utilized your Rocket account, why aren't you utilizing your account? You haven't gone out to the new to Z Hub, the community. Why haven't you done that? Because you have all of this stuff. You have everything you need. All you had to do was stay at the table, and you haven't utilized it. And so, you know, even you haven't utilized your Broadcom account. What is happening? You have to go sign in. That's all I'm going to say.
It's a confidence thing as well. I know I was talking to 𝗕𝗏𝗿𝗍𝗂 again, one of the original founders of the IBM Digital Badge Program, and he was saying he was talking to a lady that was going to had just come from a job and had just got a job and had earned a number of badges, and he asked her how that had impacted her interview and so forth, and she said it gave her much more confidence, because when she got in there, it showed that she knew her stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It gave her the confidence to say, okay, I've done all of this training, I've learned this content at a level that IBM endorses, and I know what I'm doing. So it really is a confidence thing. It's also a community thing as well. People notice when you get badges, and again, LinkedIn, I gotta love LinkedIn. I mean, it's such an amazing platform for communication across the corporate world. Other people notice that you've learned this stuff, that you've earned these badges. They can see this body of work. They can see that you know what you're doing. They can see the areas you're interested in and what you've done. We're finding, this is off track a little bit, but we're finding in the industry, it's hard work for companies to get enough graduates and new people to hire. To run these mainframe systems, and hiring them externally is one way of doing it, though it's reasonably expensive. We're finding that a lot of people, because of this e-learning and other scalable training, and because of the digital badges, you know, case in point, companies that know in the next 1 or 2 years they're going to need another 100 mainframe programmers. You know, they can either start going out there and interviewing 1,000 people to get 100 mainframe programmers, graduates coming out of university and so forth, which will be part of it. But because
naturally
the mainframe sort of interlocks with everything now. This is hybrid cloud. The mainframe's part of the hybrid cloud. And the old days when people could only code COBOL, assembler, PL1, Kix on the mainframe, they're gone. There's Python, there's C, there's Java, there's all sorts of other programming languages. People use VS Code now. People can, you know, youngsters and I suppose what I'm saying is people that program other stuff. So what companies are doing now is saying to their hundreds or thousands of programmers on the distributed side, the non-mainframe programmers, you're a good programmer, you're already part of the company, take these courses on COBOL, take these courses on Kix, take these courses on PL1, take these courses on mainframe systems and find out how the mainframe environment works. Yeah. And over the next couple of years, if you're interested, you'll do more of these courses, you'll earn more of these badges. So for the company, the corporation, when it's time for them to hire that 100 new mainframe programmers next year, they can just look down the badges earned at their organization using the Credly system, and say, okay, I've got 62 people here that are already in our company. We already know they're good programmers. They're doing great work with us. They know our entire system, distributed side and mainframe side now. and we can just bring them across and put them in a mainframe job if they're interested. And you can bring a sizable chunk of the people that are already working at your org across to fill in these mainframe roles and find the rest of them from outside. But I think Josh Bersin, the Bersin Institute, did a study and showed that it's 6 times more expensive to hire people from outside than it is to train people up internally. And there's a plug for training. We're big believers, obviously, but it makes so much sense to multi-skill and cross-train your workforce when it's feasible to do so. And again, badging is that objective level of truth of people's skill levels, and then you can just look at the data. This is the industry of big data. I mean, just look at the data and say, okay, I can hire this many people from outside, and I've got this many people internal that I know have the skills because I trained them. They're already onboarded. They're already part of the company culture. They already work here. Not only do they have the mainframe skills, they already know the other parts of the system, our distributed side as well. So they're going to be very, very versatile and agile in the way that they work. So we're starting to see that a lot more, which is big sort of endorsement of education, lifelong learning, digital credentialing, and the way they all work together.
Right. And that's no, don't you hush that. Let's just say this. I love everything you just said. I just had that conversation with a group of people the other day, and they were like, oh, I don't know if that would ever work. It will work. You know why? Because I'm gonna break it down for you. People get real loyal when you start showing them that you care.
Well said. Yeah, very well said.
When you show people that you care, they will actually stay. They will sit there and be like, what? You're choosing me? You're choosing me to learn a brand new skill because you think that I matter? Oh, yeah. Let me go ahead and learn that.
Nature.
All of a sudden, now you have somebody that looks at you like, you know how when your puppies look at you in the morning and they're like, oh, all I want is that Triscuit little biscuit. Can I get the little Trisky biscuit? And you give it to them, then they look at you and they're like, oh, thank you. Same thing. And I know for me, that's how I felt. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wow. So just imagine you have Connor down there on the dock, and all of a sudden Connor's saw that the listing out there. Hey, we're looking for programmers. We know that you guys use IoT devices to log the boxes. Let's see you do this. Come and see if you can take this test and see if it works. And this is a very big scenario. Just hear me out. Stay on the bus, Darren. So they're using the IoT. They're logging boxes. Connor goes in there. Connor takes a test. Okay. And Connor and Jaquan. And they both pass. And now all of a sudden, Connor and Jaquan are coding. All of a sudden. And they learned Python because all of a sudden it was fun. And they figured out that they can do it on the PS2, on the PS5 as well. Uh-oh. And then, no, real talk. And then all of a sudden, now, 3 years later, hey, we're also going to give you a membership for Interskill. And they're like, you know what? We kind of sort of like COBOL, and we kind of sort of are really good at it all of a sudden. Now you've gone from $17.50 to $60 an hour in a
great career. Yeah. Yeah. The mainframe industry paid very well, as you know. Yeah.
Anyway, all I have to say is, and they're willing to stay. They're willing to stay for a while, for a minute.
Well, it is one of those. I mean, I've been 30 years in this, but as you get to know more people in the mainframe space, it's a great career, and it's a career that once you've got those skills, you'll be in absolute demand. So you'll spend years and years and years. And who's to say, again, the mainframe is starting to merge into a lot of other things. IBM's leading the way in quantum computing now, which is just stunning. That's going to change the world in very short time. With it, quantum will become part of the hybrid cloud as well. So, get into your mainframe gig and start learning some quantum programming. And then slide across into that. This is the really cool thing, is if you're intellectually curious, if you learn, if you continue to do courses and learn and get to know people that can help you out and coach you and mentor you and that sort of stuff, there's no reason you have to keep your career path on that straight and narrow. You can branch off into anything as new technologies come up, like quantum. You can lean across into that. There's going to be jobs in 10, 20 years time that haven't even been invented yet. You and I are sitting here and they don't even exist yet, but they'll be standard jobs in 10 or 20 years time because of new technologies and things like that. But if you're continuing to learn and you're hungry for that sort of stuff, then
you gotta be hungry.
You do. And I mean, your story is exactly that. You're tenacious and you're intellectually curious and you're hungry to learn. But people like that will be at the forefront of these new technologies because they'll say, that's interesting. Let me jump in and learn what I can about this. And all of a sudden they're one of the early experts in a new technology or a new industry. And the sky's the limit. That's where you become a real success story. So stay hungry, I suppose.
Stay hungry. Darren?
That's a nice little segue into our other mutual interest, isn't it?
It is. Because we can sit here and we can do this for a while, and but we already said we're not gonna do that the whole time. Let's talk about our shared heavy interest. I want to talk about who taught you how to cook. So, but first, let me talk to our friends. Hey, y'all. Darren can cook. And when I say that Darren can cook, I'm talking about like for real, like really well. Who taught you how to cook?
A lot of it came from just being a dad, really, and wanting to cook for my 3 kids and for my wife. But I suppose early cooking was, interestingly enough, on the farm where we grew up, we had a wood stove, so we had to chop wood to light up the wood stove to do our cooking on the stove. So my mum taught me quite a bit of Aussie cooking, but I think my main interest in cooking just came from wanting to have really nice meals for my wife and 3 kids. So and things like just trial and error, and funnily enough, Instagram's been a real help. There's so many little mini recipes and small videos and things. YouTube's really good as well on how to cook this or how to cook that, and you just try them out. And various times my kids would run screaming in horror from the table because things didn't work out quite so well. But most of the time it's pretty delicious. And you know what? Being an Aussie over here in the US, I've been in the South here. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. Was Texas for a decade before that, and we've been here for over a decade. And Southern food, oh my God, I just love it. So I try and I have a really nice food at a restaurant around here and think, okay, I got to try and figure out how to cook that, and trying to learn all sorts of different Southern dishes and stuff, because the food in this neck of the woods is just remarkable.
I bet. I saw a beef Wellington that you did, and I was floored. I know how much effort that takes. I've tried it. I do okay.
You're a great cook. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a Twitter handle called Cooks Line. What is it? Cooks_LINE, Cooks Line, for IT people that want to post their food that they cook and chat about that. That's run by Letitia. But have a look through Cooks Line. You'll see lots of really yummy stuff there.
Thank you. But I saw your Wellington. I said he's either trained, because the technique, you had it down. I said, there's no way that was a third try. It had to have been. It was tight. You had the tuck right, just right. The tuck was just right. How did you do it?
YouTube.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, seriously, just follow instructions online. There's lots of cooking social media networks. The Cooking Channel's got one, and various other ones, and they have lots of little videos on how to do this stuff. And other than that, it's just fun. But yeah, that one turned out okay. That was pretty delicious.
It was brilliant. It was
Could have been
beautiful.
disastrous. I'm not so good. I'm like what's his name, 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗏 on TV. We watch some of the Cooking Channel as well, which helps my wife and I. But 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗏's amazing at just about any food you would want to cook, but he doesn't do so well with the baking. And I'm the same. I don't pastries and baking. Oh my God, I make messes of cakes and desserts and things, but other food, not too bad.
So what is your favorite Southern dish? To cook.
Yeah.
Let me put that in.
I mean, I did some camping, YMCA camping with dads and daughters and dads and sons for years as my kids grew up. And there was a gentleman who, and this is, we're talking 50 or 60 dads and 80 or 90 kids, daughters with the Y princesses and with sons with the Y guides. So there's an enormous horde. And one of the dads was from New Orleans, and he used to have this enormous pot, and he'd do an enormous big pot of gumbo and rice. And it was just amazing. He'd do the Holy Trinity, what is it, celery and green peppers and onions, and cook those up. And I'd just be sitting there, tell me more, show me how you do this. And Tony Chachery's seasoning, do all that, and then the andouille sausage and the shrimp and the chicken, throw all that in there and cook it up. And oh my God, there'd be so many people lined up around that thing, just getting bowls full of this gumbo. So I do love New Orleans stuff. Shrimp and grits here in Charleston's amazing. Though I still need some work. I love collard greens, and I still don't cook them very well. Not too bad. But
do you put meat in it? Do you put meat in it?
Ham hocks, yeah, ham hocks, and season it up. Sometimes turkey neck is a slightly different flavor as well, but collard greens are just delicious. So
collard greens and ham hocks. I'm gonna call my mom and tell her, you know what Darren told me? She said, "Say, girl, I saw Darren talking about them ham hocks."
I'm still trying to perfect that one. I'm still working on it. Yeah.
I love it.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm so happy to hear it. So what about, tell me this though, Darren, because I know I put out the other day about barbecue grills. Nobody answered me and I was very sad, but it's okay. Green egg.
I didn't say that. Yeah, big green egg. We've got one out on our back deck looking out over the Wando River here. It's a peaceful place I can go after work and just, whether it's brisket and or pulled pork or something like that, low and slow at 225, 6 or 8 hours. But just cooking anything on the big green egg is amazing. Really good flavor. So
I should probably go with that instead of a Weber. My brother told me I needed to do a Weber. I don't know. I said, I don't know. I gotta ask my friend. He's like, no, you're supposed to do a Weber. You're a Texan. Weber's where it's at. I said, but the green egg. And so I'm not sure. I need to, figure it out for myself. I need to go and see if the green egg is where it's at. But I see how you cook on the green egg, and I like the result. But I also have seen how he cooks on his Weber, and I like that result.
That's a charcoal one, the Weber, not gas. The charcoal grill.
I think it's gas. I want to say
gas is really quick and easy, but it doesn't taste the same.
Yeah, it's not the same, right? So what about your ribs? How are you preparing ribs?
The ribs are, the real tricks, you got to make sure you peel off that silver layer of gristle off the ribs. I rub them down and cook them.
You're not really going to give me the recipe, are you?
Oh, I can. There's a bunch of really nice rubs. I'm trying to. The one really good trick that I found made a huge difference, and you put them on a rack on the big green egg above a tray, aluminum foil tray. I usually put some beer, some IPA or something in the bottom, so that sort of steams up around it and catches the fat. But then at the end, when you've got it mostly cooked, you take them out, get another one of these big square aluminum foil, you know, like you put a turkey or something in, aluminum foil trays, throwaway ones, and you put about an inch of apple juice in that thing, and you drop these ribs down into that, cover it over with foil, put it back on for another hour, and they absorb all of that apple juice up into the ribs with all of the barbecue and the rub and everything else. And that's a lot of ribs. I mean, it's not swimming like in soup, but there's enough apple juice in there to just put moisture right up into the ribs. And oh my God, it's beautiful.
What type of apple juice? Just
off the shelf apple juice. Just puts that moisture back into it, and low and slow for the last little bit. Again, around 225 after they've cooked and got a good crust and got smoke rings from cooking in the open.
You don't have to tell me twice.
I will. I'll look up that recipe and send it your way.
I appreciate you. Thank you kindly.
Yeah, no worries.
You know, my poor neighbor, bless his heart. I asked him, I said, so how you cook your ribs? Because I looked and he told me he boiled them first. And I said, oh.
I think that's pretty common, but no, I've never ever done that. Don't do it.
But I appreciate him, and he was being such a good neighbor. He's such a nice guy. But at any rate, Darren, you have increased knowledge to how many millions of people?
Yeah, we did that calculation a year or so ago, just because the e-learning all runs through a learning management system, and so all of the results from the courses and the number of hours that you spend on the courses or minutes and et cetera, everything's pushed back. So that's a really huge value for the corporates as well. It's just to have a look at how much training's been done on what topics and who knows what. Again, when you're looking at putting a team together for a project, you can just have a look through your LMS and say, okay, here are all the people that have done training on the key skills needed for that project, and there's your team. So again, big data, the information's all there. But 30 years, Interskill started, or the precursor was DataTask, but Interskill started 30 years ago, 1990, so 33 years ago. And so there's a massive amount of data accrued. Not that we keep any data long term, but we know how many students have been registered. And we looked at it a couple of years ago. It was a huge task, just going back through and pulling and cross-referencing and making sure there weren't duplicates and so on and so forth. But we've trained over 1 million in an industry. The mainframe's ubiquitous. I mean, what is it? 96% of business transactions, credit card transactions run through mainframes, and 90+% of the world's business data sits on mainframes. So they're the heart and soul of the business world and the way the world works now. But it's a relatively small workforce. You know, there's not that many people actually work on mainframes. They're highly skilled and remarkable people that work on mainframes. So for us to have trained over 1 million people is just staggering. And one of the last, I think, the Share conference before last, maybe the one in Dallas, we had a young guy come up and talked about how he'd used the Interskill training to get started in his mainframe career. He was in his early 20s, and he's with Citi. Hopefully I can mention the name of the company. And he said,
good company.
He said, let me introduce you to somebody. And he brought an older gentleman over, and he said, this is my dad. And 25 years ago, when he started in the mainframe career, he used Interskill to get started. So we were 2 generations into this family. we trained the dad, and then when the son got a job in the mainframe space, he used the Interskill as well. So, you know, business is business, and that's all well and good, but it's little things like that.
Yeah.
That I love to look back on and say, you know what, we've impacted lives. Given people skills to do their job better and get promotions and get pay increases and just enjoy their work more. You know, there's nothing worse than doing your job when you're not quite sure what you're doing and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm so worried that something's going to go wrong and I don't know what's going on. You know, if you can get in there and know what you're doing and be confident and jump ahead and know more than you need to know and know things outside what you need to know and say, you know what, there's a better way we could do this, and collaborate with other people and invent something new or come up with a new process or procedure or standard way of doing things just because of what you've learned and what you know. These are the really cool things in your life. These are the things you remember, the things that make an impact, the things that make you proud of who you are and what you're doing. And this comes back from training and the skills you pick up and so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm rambling on, but those are the things that really make a difference for me. Is thinking that, okay, 30 years of hard work has been an exciting, interesting job, and I've brought up my family and done all of that sort of good stuff. That's what we all try and do. But the little things of, you know, making a difference in the world and lifting people's lives and helping with an industry and stuff like that. That's what I'm really proud of. So I should be laying on a couch saying this stuff, shouldn't I? You should be a psychiatrist.
No. You should be proud. You should be proud and happy.
But the mainframe industry is like that. I mean, I see some of the names of the people that are putting stuff in chats, and for any of you out there that are considering a career in mainframe, my God, this community, what a wonderful bunch of people. Just, you know, me coming from small town Australia, there's so much of that. You know, everybody just wants to help out and chip in and be good, authentic. There's no one out there that's going to mess with you. You know, you want to learn something, or you want to be connected, or you're interested in something. There's just good people in this mainframe space that'll be glad to help you step up, help you, connect you, help you with your career, help you with, you know, connecting you to the right people for better jobs, help you with skills, help you with joining groups that have similar interests, again, which makes your life, the work, more enjoyable. This mainframe community globally is just never ceases to amaze me. Makes me smile almost every day.
For sure.
Good people.
Lots of good people.
It's true, isn't it? It's amazing.
It is true. There's some pretty good folks around these parts. I want to make sure that people understand a couple of things. Mainframe's where it's at.
Yeah.
You can find your skills. You need to log into your skills stuff. Okay. It's not too late. And if it is too late, then you know what? You don't have to wait. You need to start soon. Start today. You can start today.
Always be learning. You have to.
Yeah, you can start. What else? There's a conference coming up. It's called Share.
Yep.
It's not too late to go to that. If you're a student, it's free. What else?
It's in New Orleans this year. Shout out to Share. That's the mainframe user group globally. Remarkable organization. Yeah, always be learning. Find a badge. The badges are great because they're that little instant gratification. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do a course, find a short course. If you want to just start small, find a short course. Do 3, 4, 5 hours of online training. There's a bunch of free stuff out there. IBM's got some free stuff. I know our company offers a bunch of free stuff. Do a course, earn a badge, put it up on LinkedIn. All your friends go, wow, good on you. Well done. This is fantastic. You know, feel good about yourself, and find another badge and do another one and go through the same cycle. And then all of a sudden your LinkedIn profile is like, oh, this person's got all these skills in this technology. And suddenly people will be throwing job offers at you or reaching out to you saying, hey, are you interested? You've got some skills that we need. Because in the world at the moment, corporations need skilled personnel. The way to success for any corporation is to have the most skilled personnel, and they're looking. They understand that, and they are looking, and they'll go out of their way to try and find you. 10, 20 years ago, the only way that corporations could find out who knew what was when you turned up at a job interview with a piece of paper that was your resume that you'd written out, and then they'd have to look at it now. But these days, your resume, your brand, who you are is on a corporate level, on a skill level, on a career level is up there on LinkedIn, and they're looking. So if you're there and you've got the skills you need, people from all around the world will see that and say, hey, this is somebody that if they came to our team, they would benefit our company. They add skills, they'll add benefits, they'll make our company better. So let's chase them. That's what corporations are doing. So train, learn skills, get badges, show it off on LinkedIn. I'll shut up now, but that's my that's my advice. It's really simple stuff, but just watch how it snowballs. You'll be amazed.
Darren, thanks for coming by. You have been just a breath of fresh air. You are more than welcome to come by anytime you want to. I will see you in New Orleans. Yes. And
food, eh?
Huh?
We'll try some of that good food down there. See if they cook.
I can't wait.
Me too. I love New Orleans food. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks everybody. I will close out our little session, and thank you everybody. I appreciate y'all coming through. Thanks for everybody in chat. Carl Eric Steinifers and Sherry and PJ and everybody else. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming through Darren's search. And y'all remember to take care of yourselves and get these skills. I will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.